First, let me say Radhe Radhe to everyone, and my pranam, my humblest prostrations to each and every one of you here tonight. We continue this Gita Saptah, and tonight I told you the discussion would be Bandhan aur Dukh ka Karan, the cause of bondage and suffering in the world, as discussed in Gita. Now pay attention and try to listen very carefully. Bhagavan Krishna says to Arjun in Gita, Ashochananvashocastvam pragyavadanscha bhashase gatasu nagatasuncha nanushocanti panditaha. Chapter 2, verse 11, Gita. As we saw last night, Arjun was suffering so greatly. He was grieving so much at the thought of having to fight and kill his elders, teachers, and relatives in that war. He refused to fight. Not only that, he became so bewildered, his body is shaken, perspiring profusely. Bhagavan Krishna says, Arjun, the cause of all your grief, all your sorrows is ignorance, agyan. The wise person grieves neither for the dead nor for the living. What is the ignorance Bhagavan is speaking about here? The ignorance is that not knowing who we are. Main kaun? Main kaun? Who am I? Somebody asks you, who are you? I am Ramesh. I am John. I am Mary. That's your name. I'm not asking you what is your name. I'm asking who are you? Oh, I am a Trinidadian, I'm a Guyanese, American, Indian. That's your nationality. I'm not asking which country you've come from or belong to. I'm asking who are you? Oh, I'm a teacher, doctor, engineer, garbage man. That's your job. I'm not asking you what work you do. I'm asking who are you? Aap kaun? Oh, okay. I'm a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jain, Buddhist. That's your dharma, religious denomination. I'm not asking which religion you belong to. I'm asking who are you? Oh, okay. I'm a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Caste, social order. I'm not asking which caste you belong, what social order you belong to. I'm asking who are you, bhai? Okay, I'm a human being. Human being. By looking at you, I can see that you don't have the body of a cat, or a dog, or a donkey, or a tree. But this body belongs to me. As I told you last night, whatever belongs to me cannot be me. When someone dies in the world, what do we say? James left the world at 4 o'clock this morning. James left the world. Really? Then why are so many people going to see him? He's left the world. Oh, we're going to see his body. You've become such a knowledgeable person suddenly. Gyani? But do you know who is that person who has left that body? No, I don't know. Who are you? Well, I have read in some books and I have heard some people, I've heard lectures, Babaji's. I've heard that I am the soul, the Atma, and my name is James, my name is Mary. But can you say with confidence that you're the soul if I give you one slap? Ek jhapar. What are you going to say? Why did you slap me? I didn't slap you, I slapped your body. You were just saying you're the soul. No, then I can't say. Then you're fully mad. Pagal hai. Pagal? Yeah. Definition for mad, the word pagal, in Hindi we say pagal, crazy, crack. If someone does not know who they are, they do not know who their parents are, where their home is, they do not know right from wrong, we say such a person is crazy, pagal, mad, and he should be put in a mental asylum. So it means we are all mad. We don't know who we are. Then who are we? We are the soul, the Atma. So this, in detail I explained last night about the soul. I'm not going to go back into that topic. That ignorance of not knowing who we are, identifying with the body, is the cause of all our sufferings, our sorrows, and the reason for bondage in this material world. One thing, not knowing who we are. हमें भूल गया, हम भूल गए. We have forgotten that we are the soul, the Atma. From when? Remember last night? From beginningless time, the soul is beginningless. We didn't just forget one day. Some people say, one day we were with Bhagavan, and something happened, and we fell. And we have to go back to Godhead. Are bhaiya. If something, you were perfect one day, and you fell, and you go back, you get perfect, and you go back, and you're going to fall again? You're going to fall. So what's the use to go? Stay right here, have a good time. It's not logical. So we were never with God. The Vedas tell us, Dva suparuna sayuja sakhaya samanam briksham parigasva jate tayoranya pipalam swadat nashnan nanyo abhichakashiti. Shvetashvatara Upanishad chapter 4 verse 6. The position of the soul, Jivatma, is like this. We have turned our backs to God from beginningless time. This is Jivatma, us. This is Bhagavan. Right here, not far. We reside in Bhagavan. So that is the reason. And because we identify with the body, this body is a material thing. It's made of 5 things. Prithvi, Jal, Tej, Vayu, Akash. Earth, water, fire, air, and space. The world we see around us is made of the same 5 elements. So the body needs the world. This world is very important. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about Maya. Everybody says Jagat Mithya. That the world is an illusion, it's an imagination of the mind. Okay, then don't eat. If it's an imagination of your mind, don't eat. Why do you eat something that's imaginary? We'll talk about that tomorrow. So, this body needs the world. God has created this world This is a great grace of Bhagavan, so that we will make use of the world to keep this body healthy. Tana binu bhajana ved nahi barna. We have to keep the body healthy. We have to give this body everything it requires in the right amount. The right amount of vitamins, minerals, protein, everything. Not too much, not too little. So, world is important. The body needs the world. So because the world is material and body is material, and we identify with the body, we have always looked for happiness in the world. From beginningless time. A new house, a new car, a big bank balance, handsome boy, beautiful girl, uncountable times. We have been to heaven, Swarg, uncountable times. We've attained the position of Indra, the king of heaven, millions of times. But we haven't found happiness. As I told you last night, the definition for happiness, Yovai bhuma tat sukham bhumaiva sukham, Chandogya Upanishad. That which is infinite, eternal, beginningless, immeasurable, is called sukh, happiness. Once attained, it is possessed forever. You will never become separate from it again. You will never experience sorrow again. This is how we measure if we have found happiness or not. Let's look at the world. Is there happiness in chocolate? Eating chocolate? Yeah. But you know there are people, if they taste chocolate, they will vomit. If they only taste chocolate, they'll vomit. Some people, especially in North India, UP, if you add onion and garlic in the food, they'll vomit. And if you don't put onion and garlic, food is tasteless. What kind of food is this? Does alcohol smell good or does it smell bad? Very bad. But if you ask an alcoholic, you take a bottle of alcohol and you place it before a Panditji. You have invited him to your home to eat, and you put this bottle. It has Ganga Jal, the holy water of the Ganges, but you tell the Pandit while he's eating, you say to him, Panditji, how is the food? Oh, very nice, very nice, very nice. And Panditji, that bottle in front of you, there is sharab, rum. You can have some. Oh, that Panditji will become so angry. He may even abuse you. You take the same bottle of Ganga Jal and you give it to an alcoholic. And you tell him, hey, a bottle of rum. Oh, what a kind and generous person. You are so understanding. He's so happy. Now, if there's happiness to be found in any person or object, it should give happiness to everyone alike. First condition. Just as salt tastes salty to everyone and sugar tastes sweet, it should give happiness to everyone. How then, not everyone finds happiness in alcohol, chocolate, onion, garlic, etc. Coffee, you name it. Second condition, if that thing or person gives us happiness, it should always give us happiness. Or increase, it should never get less or become and end up giving us sorrow. That same thing that gives us happiness in the world. Okay, chocolate, ice cream, cake. You eat the first ice cream, most happiness, most. Second ice cream, less. Third ice cream, even less. Sixth ice cream, oh, please don't give me another ice cream. I will eat, you getting happiness? No, I'm going to vomit. A mother have not seen her son for many days. He was away or something. She was very, very sad in the separation from her child. After 2 years, today she is seeing her son. Oh, she runs and she hugs the child. Oh, my son, I was so unhappy. Where were you? And she's so happy, hugging the child. So tight, the child might be gasping for air. But she's happy. But after a while, the same hand starts to loosen. It gets more loose and then completely loose. Now she says, Beta, son, go and play. If this is true happiness, then the happiness the mother got when she first embraced the child, why did it become less the second time and even more or less the third time and then no happiness? Now the child says, Mummy, I will hug you. Hug. It's so hot, I'm perspiring, and you want to hug? Go play. So in the course of time, that happiness comes to an end and may even become sorrow. Let's look at it another way. There was a very, very rich businessman. Suddenly he fell ill and fell down dead. The doctor came and pronounced him, tested him, he's dead. The wife heard the news, she saw the doctor pronounce him dead, she fell down unconscious. The son heard the news that his father has died. He started crying, but he didn't faint. The friend heard the news, he also shed some tears, not as much as the son. The servant heard the news, he also felt sad, but no tears came to his eyes. The neighbor heard the news. He said to his wife who was cleaning the house, Hey, did you hear our neighbor, John, that businessman? Oh, he died. Really? Oh my God. His children are so small. Oh, no one can prevent destiny. And she continued cleaning the house. No happiness, no sorrow. Now, there was another businessman who owed the dead man a large sum of money which nobody knew about. Oh, he was so happy. Jai ho, Bhagavan. Oh, Bhagavan, you are so kind. He is so happy. Now, the dead man is one. But the reaction created by his death vary from person to person. Now, it so happened the man didn't really die. It happens sometimes. People are pronounced dead, and then suddenly after a while they get up and sit up. Oh, in India, the same day you die, they take you to Smashan Ghat. They don't keep the body long. They put two bamboo, wrap you in a cloth, put you on the shoulder, Ram Naam Satya Hai. And they take you to the cremation ground. And sometimes they are going, and suddenly this person get up and sit down. Oh, bhoot, ghosts, they leave and run. So it happens. Not all the time, rare, but it happens. So the doctor had somehow given an erroneous decision. The man didn't die. Now the wife who had fallen unconscious, she regained a little consciousness, and she opened her eyes, and the husband smiling at her. Again, she falls on unconscious. This time from the joy of seeing him alive. The son sees his father is alive before hot tears were coming from his eyes. In separation, the tears are hot, and in union, they are cold. So the hot tears stopped flowing, and cold tears started flowing from the eyes. The friend heard the news. He was also happy, but less than the son. The servant heard the news. He was also happy, but even less than the friend. The neighbor heard the news. Again, he said to the wife, who was still cleaning the house, Hey, remember I told you our neighbor John, he died? Yeah, you told me. Well, doctor, I don't know what kind of doctor, he gave a wrong decision. The man is alive. Ram. That is good. And she continued cleaning the house. Again, neither happiness nor sorrow. Now, The other businessman, who was owing this man a large sum of money and was so happy that he had died, heard the news that the man is alive. Oh my God, what did you do? He is now so much pain and suffering. Now, a group of philosophers were put together to determine whether this businessman is a source of happiness or sorrow. They questioned the people involved. To the wife, he was a source of 90% happiness. To the son, 70% happiness. To the friend, 40% happiness. To the servant, 10% happiness. The neighbor said, this is all nonsense. John is neither a source of happiness nor sorrow. And to the debtor, the one who was owing the money, he was a source of pain and sorrow. Now, nobody's lying. They are all saying exactly what they are feeling. But the fact is that the businessman is neither a source of happiness nor sorrow. What they are feeling is a direct reflection of their selfishness. The wife's selfishness was the greatest, the highest, then the son, then the friend, then the servant. The neighbor's selfish interest was zero, so they felt neither happiness nor sorrow. And the debtor's selfish aim was harm. This is why he felt pain and sorrow. So now it should become very clear to us that there is neither happiness nor sorrow to be found in any person or object in the world. Our attachment, this word, listen carefully, attachment, lagav, asakti. Our attachment to any person or object in the world is directly proportional to how much that person or object satisfies our selfishness. And this attachment is the source of an incurable disease. What is that disease called? It is called kamana, desire. Desire is the greatest disease of the mind, the most powerful. If a person can get rid of desires, there will be nothing left for him to do. No gyan, no bhakti, no karma, no yoga, nothing. He would have attained everything. Bhagavan Krishna says to Arjun, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmanah tushta stapragasta dochyate. Chapter 2, verse 55, Gita. When a person becomes free from all desires of the mind and feel happiness only in the self, that person attains pure bliss. Again he says, Vihaya kaman yas sarvan puman sharati nispriya nirmamo nirahankara sashanti madhigachati. Chapter 2, verse 71, Gita. He who has given up all desires and is free from attachment, egoism, and thirst for enjoyments, that person attains real peace, real bliss, happiness. But why is desire so dangerous? What does desire do? Little Prahlad, when he saw Bhagavan, Nrsimha Bhagavan came, in a short while we'll be celebrating Holi. So after destroying Hiranyakashipu, Nrsimha Bhagavan placed Prahlad on his lap and said, ask for a boon. Prahlad said to Bhagavan, Indriyani manaprana atma dharmo dhitir mati hri shri tejasmitis satyam yasya nashyanti janmana. 7th canto, 10th chapter, 8th verse, Bhagavad Mahapuran. Prahlad says, my Lord, the birth of a single desire, one desire, causes harm to so many things. The energy of the senses, indriya, the energy of the mind, man, the energy of the life force, pran, and the energy of the soul, atma. These are the four main pillars. Other things get harmed too. Righteousness, patience, reasoning, modesty, self-esteem, and even knowledge of the scriptures. And desires are not many, you know. Desires are only 5 in number. 5. Shabd, Sparsh, Roop, Ras, Gandh. Shabd, desire to hear. Sparsh, to feel, to touch. Desire to feel, to touch. Roop, desire to see. Ras, desire to taste. Gandh, desire to smell. We cannot have a 6th desire. There are only 5 sense organs and desires of these 5 sense organs. These desires are very powerful. Kuranga matanga patanga bhringa meenahata pancha bireva pancha eka pramadhi sakatam nahanyate yasevate pancha bireva pancha. Sukti. The moth, desire for light, causes it to fall into the flame and burn. The deer's desire for sound, the hunter plays an instrument, the deer gets attracted, it causes his death. The bee succumbs to the desire for smell. It goes into the flower, the lotus flower, it closes, that's the end of the bee, for sweet smell. The fish's desire for taste gets caught on the hook, and the elephant meets its end owing to the desire for the she-elephant. These poor, innocent creatures meet their end trying to satisfy the desire for one sense organ only, related to only one sense organ. What then shall be the deplorable state of a person who is ravaged and tormented by all the 5 desires of 5 senses? Jihvai ka to mupakarshati karhi tarsha shishno nyatastva gudaram shravanam kutaschit घ्रानो न्यतश्च पलदृक् क्वच कर्म शक्तिर बहवः सपत्न इहगे यह पतिम लुनन्ति. Bhagavad Mahapuran, 11th canto, 9th chapter, 27 verse. Uddhav Gita. Bhagavan Krishna says to Uddhav, he compares the 5 senses to the 5 wives of a man. Oh. Let's suppose a man has 5 wives. I won't go in detail on that. Don't have enough time. Just as each wife tries her level best to attract and possess the husband to herself, in the same way, each sense, each desire tries to capture the heart to itself, thereby leading to that person complete ruin and degradation. This is why all the scriptures and all the saints have pronounced desire to be the most dangerous disease of the mind. Little Prahlad, he says to Nrsimha Bhagavan, Vimunchati yada kaman manavo manasisthitan tahyeva pundarikaksha bhagavat tvaya kalpate. 7 Canto, 10 chapter, 9th verse. He says, Hey Bhagwan, forget about becoming a saint. If a person can give up all desires, he becomes Bhagavan. But why has desire been described to be the most dangerous disease of the mind, the root cause of all our pain and sufferings? What about greed and anger? Kamat krodho bhijayate. Chapter 2, verse 62, Gita. The mother, the root cause, the origin of both greed as well as anger is desire. A desire can either be fulfilled or remain unfulfilled. You desire something. To eat ice cream, pizza, to meet a girl, meet a boy, some desire. Either you fulfill it or it remains unfulfilled. When fulfilled, when the desire is fulfilled, it leads to greed, lobh, which is ever increasing and insatiable. Na jatuh kamaha kaman upabhoge na shamyati havisha krishna vatmeva bhuya eva vibhardhate. Bhagavad Mahapuran, 9th Canto, 19th chapter, 14th verse. The Bhagavad says, trying to satisfy a desire. You know, sometimes you want something very badly, or you like something. I like to eat pizza. It's not good for me, but I'll eat a lot. 12 pizza one time. Then I don't want pizza anymore. Trying to satisfy a desire is like pouring ghee into fire. You all know, people do havan. When you pour ghee into the havan kun, Indraya Namaha Swaha, Agne Namaha Swaha, what happens? When you pour the ghee, that pure clarified butter, on the fire, temporarily, the fire goes down. And then what happens? It gets bigger. So when you satisfy a desire, temporarily, you will satisfy, okay, I don't want any more. But then tomorrow, I want more. It increases. And what happens when we cannot satisfy the desire, we cannot get what we want? Anger comes. Krodha. And what happens when anger comes in the mind? Krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti banshat buddhinasho, buddhinashat pranashyati. Chapter 2, verse 62, Gita. From anger, Bhagavan Krishna is saying to Arjun, from anger comes delusion. From delusion, loss of memory. When a person loses the memory, they lose the power to discriminate, and everything is destroyed. When you get angry, sometimes somebody has done something you don't like. You heard they said something about you, or they tried to harm you in some way, and I'm going to fix that person. I can't wait to give them a piece of my mind. And that person, you see that person and you curse and you abuse that person in the worst. And the person cries. Oh, and you think, I fix you. I really fix you today. But you know what? We fix ourselves better. We have destroyed our own self. This is what anger does. It's very dangerous. So whether desire is fulfilled or unfulfilled, both are dangerous. So we are trapped both sides. Now, does desire have a root cause, a mother, an origin? If we can find that, if it has, and we can find that root and destroy it, then we don't have to worry about desire, greed, anger, or any other material mental disease. Look, this whole Radha Madhav Dham, 200 acres. Let's suppose someone wants to bring this whole place to darkness. Would you go from room to room and take off the switch? No, you go to the main station, where the main station is, the main power thing, and you take off the main switch. All light gone. There was only one reason, one cause for desire, and that is attachment. I told you to remember that word, attachment, lagav, asakti. For example, I see people get up sometime and take a little walk. Some of us will be thinking, I've been sitting for a while. If I get a cup of coffee, a cup of chai, a cigarette, I take a little walk, I'll be fresh again. Then Swamiji can go and talk for 2 hours, no problem. Because of our attachment to that object, the desire for it is born again and again at intervals. It keeps pinching us. Drink me, smoke me, smoke me. And the more you use it, the more you want it. Somebody never drink coffee, doesn't think I have to drink a cup of coffee in the morning. And some of us, if we don't get that first cup of coffee, we can't even start the day. Let's look at it another way. Is there pleasure? Do you get pleasure from looking at beautiful things? Yes. From looking at ugly things? No. Do you get pleasure from smelling sweet things, perfume, rose? Yes. Rotten thing? Garbage? Rotten garbage? The toilet? No. As I said, alcohol smells very bad, those of us who don't drink it. But you ask an alcoholic, that's the best smelling thing in the world. A child's nose is running. Naak bari. The mother in her love kisses the child right where the nose is running. Another person looks on, oh my God, how can she not scorn the child? A person in love, attached, finds beauty where there is ugliness and sweet smell where there is bad smell. So beauty and sweet smell does not give pleasure, happiness. Look at it another way. Sometimes we have fear here, right? April, we have a mela. Right, so there's a big mela, Radha Madhav Dham, and thousands of people, and this lady has lost her son. It happens every time you go to this mela, especially if it's very big. Many children, they go and they're lost in the crowd. So she's looking, can't find the child, so she goes to the police booth. And there are many other kids who have been lost in the fear, in that mela. So the policeman says to her, look, see if your son is among any of them. And she looks and she says, no, she's not there. Then the policeman tells her, please, lady, describe what your child looks like for me. I can help you look for him. She tearfully describes the child as being one-eyed, lame, a cleft on the lip, cut cleft, very dark, in other words, very ugly. The policeman says, lady, there are so many beautiful children here. Why don't you embrace one and get some happiness? Your child is so ugly. The lady says, policeman, what do you know? It's only when I see that one-eyed child of mine, I'll be able to eat my food. If there is happiness, pleasure, and beauty, then that mother seeing so many beautiful children should have embraced one and satisfy her motherly affection. But she doesn't want beauty. She wants her ugly, one-eyed child. Where there is attachment, only upon attaining that person or object is pleasure derived. And this attachment is the source of all desires, which in turn is the source of all our sorrows and suffering in the world. Dhyayato vishayan punsa sangasteshu upajayate sanga sanjate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate. Chapter 2, verse 62, Gita. So number 1, attachment. Then from attachment comes number 2, desire. Then number 3, if a desire is fulfilled, greed. If it's unfulfilled, anger. But why do we get attached to any person or object? Does it also have an answer? And besides, our attachment varies from person to person. Everybody is not attached to the same person or object. The answer is given in the first line of the shlok I just gave you from Gita. The first line. Dhyayato vishayan punsa sangasteshu upajayate. Chapter 2, verse 62, the first line. This verse says, when we think again and again about any person or object, listen carefully. When we think again and again that we can find happiness in any person or object, we get attached to that person or object. Nobody becomes an alcoholic overnight. We're not born alcoholics. When you're young, you see people drinking, your friends, your peers, people older than you, and you think this will give you happiness. So you hide and take a little sip, your head spin a little bit. Then you decide to drink every Friday. You go with the boys, the girls, to clubbing. Then every Monday and Friday, then every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, now every day. Now you're a complete alcoholic. Nobody becomes a chain smoker overnight. Again, when you were young, you saw people smoking, elders, your parents even, father, mother, your peers. You think this is, to smoke shows a sign of grown up, being in thing. I'm going to take a smoke too. When smoking that first cigarette, you cough and almost choke on it. But you keep smoking because you think it's going to give you happiness until you have become a chain smoker. How do we fall in love? People say love is blind. I just fall in love. Nobody falls in love. We see a person, a boy or a girl. This is the boy who's going to make me happy. This is the girl. Unconsciously, that reflection in the mind, thinking, and then I can't eat, I can't sleep. Nothing in the world until I meet this boy, this girl. So it is a thinking again and again, the constant reflection that I can find happiness in any person or object which makes me attached to that person or object. Now, why do we constantly presume any person or object to be a source of happiness? Does it also have a reason, a root cause? Yes. As I told you before, last night, we all want only one thing: happiness. Because we are a fraction of happiness. We all want only happiness. And until and unless we find true lasting happiness, we will have to continue performing action. Nahi kashchit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karmakrit. Chapter 3, verse 5, Gita. No one can remain inactive even for a moment. We'll have to continue to perform actions, and every action we perform will be for the attainment of one thing only, that is happiness. This nature of ours to look for happiness everywhere, in everything, no one can destroy. Neither Bhagavan, God, nor a saint, nor man, nor Rakshas, nor even a demon. No one. But if we continue looking for happiness in the world, as we have been doing from uncountable lifetimes, we will never be satisfied. If, however, somebody can convince us that the happiness we're looking for, we can find it only in Krishna, in Radha Krishna. This is not easy. This decision in the mind to find happiness in the world has become very firm. To change that is impossible for the worldly soul. By ourselves, if we could have done it uncountable lifetimes, we would have done it already. There's a great Russian writer by the name of Leo Tolstoy. Mahatma Gandhi also accepted him as a mentor. Great writer. In one of his writings, he said, once Jesus Christ came in the world. Jesus Christ taught 2,000 years ago when I came, no one accepted me. They even nailed me to the cross. But now, at least half of the world are Christians. So, I'm sure they will accept me and they'll be very happy to see me. With this thought in mind, he came in the world, thinking everybody will be happy. So he went to a church, one of the biggest churches, and waited. As soon as the sermon was finished and everyone came out, somebody said, hey, that guy looks like the Christ, like Jesus. And next person said, well, he dresses like the Christ. The next person said, he looks like a joker. I think he's a joker. The Christ said, hey, I'm neither a fake nor am I a joker. I am the Christ himself. What a crazy man. He's saying he's a Christ, Jesus Christ. Fool. Go. Get out from here. At the same time, the father in the church, he came outside. And the Christ thought, ooh, this is my priest. He's preaching about me. He's one of my people. I'm sure he'll recognize me and he will tell everybody. And the father came out and said, hey, who's this rascal? Tie him up and throw him in jail. Isko bando. Put him in jail. Tie him up. And so Jesus Christ, they tied him and threw him in jail. Now, late that night, the father came to the jail and he said, oh Lord, please forgive me. The Christ said, you recognize me? Yes, I recognize you this morning itself. Then why did you lie this morning to everyone and had me thrown in jail? Oh Christ, oh Jesus, oh my Lord, why did you come in this world again? We were doing so well, such a good business, using your name. Everything was going smoothly, we were earning so well. Oh, we had big Rolls Royce and plane and we were doing so good. You should not have come again in this world. Now, your coming here is going to harm our status. And you're going to reveal our deceit as you did 2,000 years ago. So please go back. Nobody wants God. It's very difficult for the worldly soul to make the decision in the heart, in the mind, that Krishna alone, God alone is happiness. This a saint has to help us do. When we associate with a true saint, a true guru, this is what happens. If we associate with a saint in the right way for some time, our attachment for the material world will start decreasing by itself. An attachment for God will start increasing by itself. What happens when a saint comes in this world? You have read history. What we did not do to them, crucify them, curse them, abuse, poison, throw them in jail. You name it, what we didn't do to them. But still the saint did not desist from his work, from coming in this world and performing his action of uplifting us. Even if we were to take off the skin from his back, as our aim of attaining God realization, making this heart, this mind pure, the condition for knowing God, cannot be done without the help of a saint. Nirmala mana jan so mohi pawa, mohi kapat chal chidna bhava. Only those who are pure in heart, nirmal man, can see me, know me, attain me. I cannot bear deception, deceit, fraud. So the saint, he's the one who's going to make this heart, this mind of ours pure. In other words, he does the work of a garbage man. A garbage man. The uncountable lifetimes of wickedness, sin, impurities, dirt which is stored in the mind, in our heart, that work the saint comes and cleans. That's what he does. That was the work of a saint is. That's why when it comes to Bhagavan and the saint, Kabir says, Guru Govind do khare kake laghu pai. My Guru is saint and Krishna standing before me. Who should I worship first? We think, Bhagavan, God? Na. Balihari Guru apno jin Govind diyo lakhai. I worship, I bow, I worship first the saint, my Guru, who gives me Radha Krishna. So this work is very difficult to make, to change that decision that there is no happiness to be found in any person or object in the world, and true happiness can be found only in Krishna. If that decision comes in our mind, and the same way in the world, thinking again and again we get attached in the world, then thinking again and again that Radha Krishna alone will make me happy, what's going to happen? We'll get attached to Radha Krishna. And what will be the result? God realization, supreme, infinite, divine bliss, divine happiness. Vishayandatashchittam vishayeshu visajjate mamanusmarataschittam mayeva praviliyate. Bhagavad Mahapuran, 11 canto, 14 chapter, 27 verse. The moment we come to the decision that there is no happiness nor sorrow to be found in any person or object in the world, all our attachments for the world will be finished. Will come to an end. If there is no attachment, there will be no desire. And in such a situation, the question of greed, anger, or any other mental disease doesn't even come into question. So we have to take everything and put it in the divine area. Become attached to Radha Krishna through the help of a saint. That becoming attached to them, he will convince us. That's why we have to associate with him. We cannot do it by ourselves. If we could have done it, uncountable lifetimes, it would have been done already. That alone should tell us we cannot do it. We need to go to the saint. He is the one who is going to do it for us. Associate with him with faith, with reverence. So this is enough for this topic tonight. This is the reason of all our bondage, suffering and sorrows, desire. Tomorrow's topic, a big, big thing, Maya. This thing we hear about Maya. We'll talk about it, we'll discuss it as to what Gita says tomorrow. Bole Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai, Srimad Sadguru Sarkar ki jai, jai Shri Radhe, jai jai Shri Radhe, jai jai Shri Radhe.